Hello everybody, we are here with our Freya guide. So we're going to be grabbing ourselves a Hunter's Blessing in tier 1, going into our magical power rings with a couple of health potions and a couple of mana potions, as well as our purification beads. Looks like we're going to be against Sobek plus Oleron, Sobek plus Apollo, one of those two. So they're going to have a pretty aggressive lane. We're going to need to make sure we've got the beads against that. Freya is a very, very late game oriented god. The ultra early game is definitely not her strong suit. She likes to AFK farm for quite a while and then move into team fights once she has like 3+ items where she can really start to output damage. So Freya, we're going to talk about her passive first just because it's pretty straightforward. Her necklace grants her additional magical lifesteal. So you start with 10% magical lifesteal, and then you get another 0.25% per level. So you get a bunch more lifesteal as you continue to play the game. This means that she pairs really, really well with lifesteal items because you get to stack it right on top of that. Particularly Ring of Hecate and Typhon's Fang are very, very good on her. And you'll see that we'll get those quite early on our Freya. The ability that we get at level 1 is our 2. This ability transfers Freya's auto attacks. Normally Freya's auto attacks are melee range, but when you have your pulse activated, it is going to make your auto attacks range. It is also going to increase the size of the auto attacks. That is a bummer. That is a bummer. I might live if I can juke the 3. I did juke the 3 right there, so we're gonna live. So that pulse is going to give you extended. It's going to give you that range auto attack. It is going to make your autos literally bigger than usual. So like it's bigger than like an Apollo auto. So your autos become easier to hit. It's going to grant you bonus damage. And it's going to make your attack AoE at the target hit. So if you hit somebody, you can see that it's pulsing out damage. And it also slows. This is all of the things that it does. Everything that I just listed. Extended autos, thicker autos, AoE damage, slow, bonus damage, and that lasts for 6 seconds. So this is not a ability that lasts for like a certain amount of auto attacks, like say a Medusa one. This lasts for a length of time, which means that the more auto attack speed that you have, the more times you will be able to utilize this ability within its time frame. The ability that we got at level 2 was our 3, because I knew we were going to need it for some peel. This ability, commonly referred to as whoop, and it is going to be a 1.5 second banish. So at the target location, you basically throw up your hands. It's going to lift them into the air and out of the game for 1.5 seconds. This can be beads. This is your main form of peel on Freya. It is also an initiation tool, so you can set people up to come down right where you want them and begin auto-attacking them. So it can be both aggressive and defensive, but it's probably most important when used defensively because you don't have a standard getaway skill on Freya. At level 3, we got our 1. This ability is called Irradiate, and this is going to give you bonus damage once again on your auto attacks, and most importantly, you can stack it with your 1. So right now I'm using my 2 by itself. If I use my 1 by itself, you'll see my auto attacks are still melee range, and I'm getting this bonus damage.
Enemy missing middle.
But you can stack the 2 and the 1 together, and you will get the bonus damage from the 1 as well as the bonus damage from the 2, but you do lose out on the slow. You will lose the slow if you use Pulse and Irradiate together. It says right here, the area effect and slow are lost when it's active. So you do lose that AoE damage and you do lose that slow when you pop them together. But it does combine both of these damages as well as, you know, making that an AoE auto attack. So oftentimes when you're PvEing, you're just going to use the 2 by itself because you're going to get that AoE auto in range, so it's safer. When you're actually fighting a god, you're going to pop both of them to get as much bonus damage off as possible, usually trying to land 1 shot of your 2 by itself so you can get a little bit of that slow effect on them before switching over to using your 2 and your 1. Finally, we have our ultimate ability. This ultimate ability makes you fly through the air, and you will get 4 shots. You get 4 shots while you're flying through the air. It does have a time length on it, so if you run out of time, you will not necessarily get to shoot all 4 shots. So you got to make sure that you shoot them kind of quick. You definitely have to shoot faster than you would say with a like a Rama. With a Rama, you can take a lot of time up in the air. You definitely don't have that much time on Freya to just kind of sit around. But you don't have to absolutely spam left click, but it is pretty quick. You are untargetable while you're in the air. Basically, think about Camazotz, how Camazotz goes into the air. And he's untargetable in it. Camazotz and Freya ulti actually use the same tech. So if you're familiar with Camazotz, then you're familiar with how Freya ulti works. So the one thing I would say to be careful for on Freya ult is Freya ult and Camazotz ult are a little buggy. And on the way into the air, sometimes it looks like you're way into the air and you're about to start using your ability and you will get attacked anyway. So just be aware that until you actually use your first shot on Freya or your first dive on Camazotz, that you are still technically hittable. The animation and the actual targeting, being targetable effect do not line up correctly on Freya and Camazotz, and it can get particularly bad if you have high ping. So on Freya, we're going to be going into our Healy McSeely boots, as well as going into a first item, Ring of Hecate. This is going to give us a bunch of power, attack speed, and magical lifesteal. Like I said, we're going to be particularly pairing magical lifesteal and auto attack speed on Freya. The Freya build, as well as most of the magical auto attacker builds right now, are not very flexible. You pretty much build the same thing every game. The only notable change is sometimes when they have healing, like they've got an okay amount of healing with like the Oleron, Hebo, Sobek, and Mulan and stuff. Every once in a while you'll want to like throw in a Toxic Blade for the anti-healing, but even then, a lot of times the magical ADCs, you just do more damage if you were to just build an actual damage item. Ooh, I missed the last shot on that right there, and now I gotta be careful because I'm about to get Oleron. See if I can't hide in this and heal up a little bit. I gotta be careful of his 1. So what we did right there was the kind of standard Freya combo. I whooped him up into the air. I popped my 2 while I'm waiting for him to come down, right? I whooped. I popped my 2. And then I used 1 auto attack on my 2 just so he got that little slow on him. Then I popped my 1 in order to make sure that I could land more auto attacks. You don't have to put the slow on him first. You can just pop the 2-1 and go right into the bonus damage. It just depends. Sometimes you want to make sure you've got a little slow to try to hit that guaranteed auto on it. The slow doesn't actually last very long, so it's not crucial. You can go ahead and just pop your 2 and your 1. That'll just come down to a little bit of a play style preference right there. Oh, I am very dead. Can my play style preference being absolutely deleted? Actually, this Hebo is gonna get Freya. I actually thought he was going to instantaneously ulti me right there, but maybe his ultimate was down, so Apollo has to ulti over as well to help out with that. and the Hebo is gonna go down. So that is the benefit of Freya right there. As you can see, that unexpected damage. That was basically 4 autos, and Hebo was dead. So our leveling order on Freya, you saw at the beginning of the game, we went 2, 3, 1. Just because you're not really gonna kill somebody early. And so the whoop is just safer for self-peel. But as far as maxing our abilities out, it's going to be 4, 2, 1, 3. Get your ulti every time you can. Then get your 2. That's going to be your main source of clear. Finally, get your 1 and then your whoop. Your whoop, all it does is lower the cooldown, which is nice and all, but like one-shotting is more nice than whooping somebody a second earlier. For our actives, it's going to be standard hunter actives. We got our beads first, particularly on Freya because she doesn't really have a getaway skill. Make sure you get those beads first if you're against something like a Sobek that can pluck you. Your options are the beads, the pluck, or, you know, be sent back to the fountain. That's pretty much all you can do. I'm going to pop my 2 and my 1 at the exact same time this time. Not going to be able to kill him, but I do force the all-around ultimate, which is great because that's a very, very long cooldown. And I did not use any of my long cooldowns. I'm not going to be able to be quite as cheeky as I was last time. Gonna see if I can't maybe kill an Oleron here before I die. Doesn't look like it because they've got 3 people over here again. So I'm gonna go pick up a couple of wards and put those out. Freya is very, very susceptible to being camped because she doesn't have a getaway skill. This means that you got to be careful about those rotations. And there's really, I'm gonna be honest with you, there's really not much you can do about it on Freya in the early game. If they're gonna send people at you 3v1, it just kind of is what it is. I mean, there's not much that anybody can do 3v1 in Smite. So you just have to kind of rely on your team to be winning their fights wherever they are, because that means that they've got a 4v2 on the rest of the map. So they should be winning those fights if they're rotating 3 people over to you.
An enemy has been
So for the general strategy on Freya, you're pretty much not leaving your lane. It can be a little bit boring, but you're mostly sitting over here, I would say, until the 15-ish plus minute marker. You're just kind of sitting there and farming. You're just trying to get as much XP as you can. You don't want to miss out on any camps, miss out on any potential XP. So you're mostly just sitting over in your lane and getting farm. Not too many rotations happening on Freya. She doesn't like have any bonus movement speed or anything. So if you waste too much time rotating, you're gonna fall behind on XP, and it's way more important for you to get XP than it necessarily is for you to just rotate over and help out a little bit earlier in the game. Because you're trying to get as far into your build as you can. As far. For our third item this game, we are going to be going into a Typhon's Fang. So this third item is what I would say is the most situational here on Freya. If you find that the enemy team is already building a lot of anti-heal, I would just go ahead here and grab the Telkine's Ring. Telkine's Ring is going to be what we get 4th. It's going to give you a bunch of attack speed, magical power, a bunch of great damage. Wonderful item for Freya. But if they're not building a lot of anti-heal, they don't have any anti-heal online yet. All they have for anti-heal is the built-in Sobek anti-heal on Siphoning Strike. So I can get away with going even heavier into the anti-heal in the early stages of this game. Especially with the amount that I'm getting rotated on, a little extra sustain might be able to help me grab a kill before they send me back to the fountain. On Freya, I wouldn't worry about your KDA too much, honestly. By the nature of how she plays, you'll oftentimes find yourself within the first 15 minutes of the game down a little bit. Whether that down in gold or XP or down in kills or something, that's fine. It's pretty standard for Freya because of how she just kind of turns on out of nowhere in the mid game. I'm also against an Oleron, who is one of the other best late game hunters in Smite. So our late game battles will actually be fairly close. but you can see already that I am getting the better of these trades.
Okay.
The later this game goes, the better those trades should get for me. My one thing that I have to be really worried about is his ultimate, but as long as my ulti is up, I can just fly over his ulti and get out, and that'll be fine. So as long as I got my ulti up, I shouldn't be too worried about it. For good and bad matchups for Freya, she does have bad matchups. One thing that is particularly hard for her is disarms. Disarms do really good against Freya because you're reliant on your 2 for those ranged autos, and because it is a limited duration of 6 seconds. That means if you pop your pulse and then you get Fafnir disarmed, Bologna disarmed, whatever, that means you're basically losing 33% of your ranged auto attack duration, which can be really, really hard for Freya. So I would watch out for disarms against her. And the second thing I'd be careful of is displacement. Because Freya doesn't have a getaway skill, gods that can displace her super far also become problematic. The most notable god on this front is going to be Sobek. Sobek can really try to pluck her, put her out of position, and they can try to burn you down while you are in the air getting flicked and then tail whipped right after. So that is what I'd be careful against the most on Freya, is watching out for disarms and displacement. As far as what Freya does good against, pretty much everybody 1v1. Freya is one of the better 1v1 gods in the entire game. She really thrives in that. As you get into the late game, she's really good against tanks. You're going to have a demonic grip. You're going to have the Talkine. You've got all this built-in lifesteal. So you're going to shred through tanks. You're going to shred through squishies. She really does great against all sorts of gods, high and low, as long as you get to those later stages of the game. The only other thing that I'm ever concerned about on Freya is Thorns. Thorns, which got picked up here by Mulan. Thorns is a really hard relic for Freya to deal with. It's a hard relic for any of the auto attackers to deal with, but particularly for Freya, because she is so dependent. On lifesteal. That magical Thorns effect taking away 50% of your lifesteal capabilities is just insane and really, really hard for her to deal with. So keep that in mind, that Thorns is the enemy, or if you're playing against Freya, keep the Thorns in mind as a great way to counter her if you're trying to 1v1 her, particularly on somebody, if you already have a disarm in your kit, maybe you're playing Bologna or somebody, if you get your whip out, and then as soon as your disarm duration comes off of her, you get pop of Thorns, that Freya can't fight you for a solid, like, 7 seconds or something, which is really a long time in Smite. Tis really a long time. Yeah, I gotta be careful. Try to get out of here. I got a lot of tower damage. Freya's not very good at tower damage. She's probably the worst tower damage out of all of the magical ADCs. She's really good against like Gold Fairy Fire Giant. She's got great objective damage. But as far as towers goes, she's really, really lackluster on that front. You can use your pulse, you know, for that extended range to try to fight it, but then you basically only got 6 seconds of ranged autos against a tower or Phoenix. But you can see the Gold Fury is just getting deleted from our 2-1. We do really, really good against the Gold Fury and the Fire Giant. I'm gonna see if I can't avoid getting Hebo ulted. There we go. Hebo ulti is that. Now I can play a little bit farther forward. I've got 2,400 gold, so I need to be careful. Wow, I just got hit by that Sobek ult so hard. I'm just gonna ulti here and try to get Oleron, try to get this Apollo before I die. Dang. 1 HP left, unfortunate, that's fine. Now we're gonna go back, we're gonna just go for our Talkine's ring. By the time that I respawn, we're gonna have plenty of gold for it. In fact, I just got an assist credit, so we're gonna have enough to get the Talkine's ring and a sentry ward by the time that we spawn. For Freya, your 1 and your 2 do not go through walls. They work just like regular auto attacks do in Smite. So they are considered stims, which means that these are not going to do anything other than buff up those auto attacks of yours. You can ulti over walls and whoop over walls. And by ulti over walls, I don't mean like fly over a wall. I mean like you can use it and shoot over a wall as long as it's not too thick. So if somebody's on the other side of a wall, you can whoop them on the other side. Or if they were like on the other side of that pillar, I can shoot them on the other side of that pillar with my ultimate. Now that we've gotten to about the 19-minute marker, I've got my Typhon's Fang and my Talkines online. I'm a little bit more comfortable looking for fights. They just got the Fire Giant though, so this is like really risky. I'm gonna try to whoop the Sobek. Didn't quite get it. I'm gonna save my Aegis till the absolute last second, pop my beads, and I should be able to just continue auto attacking right now for this fight. Looks like there might be somebody behind us. We're not gonna be able to catch up to him. And we've got Oni creeps in every lane right now pushing in. So I did have to use my double actives right there. But that's good. We got a Fire Giant down. We got pressure in a couple of lanes. And I'm gonna see if I can't get a little greedy here and go try to steal some of their buffs. And left side, maybe look for a quick fight on like an Oleron who's looking for like a quick buff. Have my whoop at the ready just in case. No, not going to be the case. And now I need to be careful and get out of here because Apollo might be dead, but he can always ulti back into these fights. So I'm just going to grab a little farm on my way out, but not going to go back in there looking for any more trouble. For Freya in the team fights, as far as positioning, you're playing her just as you would a traditional hunter. That means you're sitting in the back line. Hopefully you have some sort of peeler by you that can give you a little bit of love if you get dove on by somebody. For the most part, you should be able to peel for yourself. You do have that whoop, and you do a ton of damage. So as long as it's 1v1, you should be totally fine. Even against this Mulan with the thorns, I should probably be fine. Especially if I had my actives up. With my actives down, it's a little bit closer. But Freya is just so good in those 1v1s, especially as you approach the level 20 and the full build. So for our build, we had that Ring of Hecate to start into the lifesteal boots. Sometimes people like to get the Ring of Hecate first before boots.
Yes.
I find that on Freya, you're just so susceptible to ganks. You best get those boots online ASAP. If you don't get those boots online, you're just gonna be asking for even more ganks on top of the ganks you're already gonna be getting. So I try to do the boots before the ring, then you get your ring, and then like I said earlier, you can either go to the Typhon's Fang if they're not building a lot of anti-heal, or you can get that Talkine's ring if they are, and get the Typhon's Fang a little bit later on. But you're pretty much always going to be grabbing these actual items.
I got your back, brother.
Ooh, that was actually very close. That was scary. There's not much of a like the order of the items. You can change a little bit if you feel like you need to, but the items themselves are pretty much always the items that you're going to be buying. All around all is down, so I got to be a little careful. I'm just going to sit over to the left-hand side. I'm just going to be throwing some abilities down into here. I'm going to throw down my ulti because I see a big opportunity to get a large ulti off in the background, get a bunch of damage. I can't sit around them anymore, so I'm just going to waddle away. Phoenix takes down the Hebo. That's nice. We did get a lot of damage on them in the backline. Hopefully we can kill the Oleron off of this. I'm just going to go ahead and whoop him. So when he comes down, I can get that quick instant kill. We lose one Phoenix, but that's not bad at all for them having the Fire Giant, especially because the later we get into this game, the stronger I am. All right, that's a Sobek plugged down, so I just auto-attack him a couple of times. And now there's also a dead Sobek.
I'll attack middle
As soon as I get my demonic grip online, a lot of these guys are going to start melting even faster, particularly some of these tankier boys. It's not going to help me that much against like the Oleron and Apollo, but the tankier characters like the Sobek and this Mulan are going to start really feeling the heat once we get that demonic online. In the ultra late stages of the game, sometimes you want to switch over from grabbing the purple buff on Freya to the red buff. That's going to depend on like who your mid laner is and where exactly you are in your build. For me, I oftentimes like to get that purple buff because it's going to give you that attack speed and a little bit of flat pen. It's going to help you out against squishies, and it's also going to potentially give you an extra shot with your pulse, depending on where exactly you are in your attack speed chain. So for the most part, I lean into that purple buff. Now that we've got our demonic grip online, I'm going to be grabbing a 6th item. I like Rod of Tahuti a lot on Freya as a 6th item, just for the flat raw damage that it's going to give me. Oh my goodness, speaking of flat raw damage, it must be Freya o'clock. I got to be careful because there is a Hebo here. I'm going to try to Aegis. Not going to be able to get it off as I land. That was a really big Oleron and Freya ulti combo, and they'll probably be able to end the game off of this. I don't think they're going to opt to go for the Fire Giant. They've got 4 people alive. They got about 30 seconds. They're going to try to run all the way over to the duo lane and then bring up those creeps, and it's going to be kind of close on the Sobek spawn, so we'll see if he'll be able to peel first. No, they actually kept a couple people at the Fire Giant. If they kept 2 at the Fire Giant, there's no way they can end with without more people than that. But that Rod of Tahuti, basic attacks and abilities gain 25% additional magic power against targets under 50% health. You're already this giant burst damage god. You pair the Rod of Tahuti with that, and all it means is your first 2 attacks get somebody below 50% health, and then your 3rd auto attack kills them instead of needing a 4th auto. And your build lacks not a lot of power, but it lacks a little bit of power. I gotta be careful here for the potential Hebo over the wall. I'm gonna try to land a whoop. Right there, there's the Hebo. We knew he was coming. Really good net shot right there, though. I'm gonna try to auto attack Sobek and heal up as much as I can off of this. Unfortunately, the Sobek ult just gonna do enough to kill me. I didn't have a way to avoid any of that damage that was coming into me. My ultimate was coming up just too late, and so I tried to heal up as much as I could. But I had the sickening strike on me, which meant I had the minus lifesteal, plus he has a divine root. So I actually had double minus procs of lifesteal on me. So even though I was using my Irradiate in my 1 to try to heal up off of that, I was not able to get quite enough. I think I had like 620 HP, and his ulti hit me for 642, which is certainly a bummer. That's a good Izanami dash to get out of that Apollo nonsense. Holy, speaking of Apollo nonsense, though. Oppa! That's some Apollo nonsense. Only 200 gold away from our Rod of Tahuti. So I'm mostly just trying to sit around and get a couple 100 gold for that. To stay near my Phoenixes. Hebo is an interesting god to go against Freya. Freya's got so much sustain. And Hebo obviously has so much burst. So if Hebo blinks in on me and knocks me up in ultis, that is actually a 1-shot. So I've got to be very careful. It's really hard to counter the Hebo blink knockup. You basically have to preemptively beads his knockup and then immediately ulti, or immediately Aegis. Either way, it's very difficult. Technically possible, but very difficult, especially if you don't have any vision on the Hebo before he's doing it. A little bit easier to avoid it at Phoenix fights because I obviously know he's going to be there and looking for him, but definitely harder out in the wild. But now we're at full build. So this is basically when we are at peak Freya nonsense. If I were to get another item, I would sell my boots. And you've got so many options. I don't hate a defensive item on Freya. So whether you want to get yourself a Mantle of Discord, like if you are against a physical assassin, somebody's going to be really close to you, like a Loki, Mantle of Discord is a great last item for Freya. They've got a lot of magical damage, which makes it a little bit awkward because they're going to have a range on me. I'm actually going to start launching auto attacks through this just because they go so slow, but by the time they actually get there, they might hit one of the targets that I'm intending. Playing back while my pulse is down. Gotta be safe while your pulse is down on Freya. Sobek tried to come in and pluck me. Now I need to know that Hebo is just around the corner and he can look for that blink ulti at any time. So I gotta be very careful with that. You can see I'm looking for the damage already. Another great item to look for in the ultra late game as Freya is going to be your hastened ring for the most part. For the most part, I don't get hastened ring on Freya or any of the magical hunters unless it's going to be that 6th item slot. Mostly just because from a stat point of view, it's not one of the best items. It's really a gas pedal item. But that same gas pedal can be provided by a Heavenly Agility on your team. We don't actually have one, which is very uncommon. Normally you have 1, even 2 Heavenly Agilities on your team. And so you usually are getting that effect already in a team fight, just because of your actives being used by like your support. But in this game, we actually don't have a Heavenly Agility, and I don't feel like I need a Mantle of Discord because I'm feeling like I'm either going to get one shot by Hebo or he's not going to land the combo, and I'm going to be fine. Doesn't really seem to be too much of a in-between right there. So I'm going to back it up. I'm going to get my Elixir of Speed online, a little Sentry Ward. I'm going to rank up my beads here, and if the game continues to go, then I'll rank up my Aegis next. And see if we can get ourselves a hastened ring online. What's it actually called nowadays? I have no idea. Oh, it is called hastened ring. Look at that. How about that? That's exactly what it does. What a good naming scheme. How about that? It's actually called hastened ring. I don't hate us looking for a fight out here. I've got to be careful because I've got my beads down, but I just saw Sobek actually pluck, which means he's a free kill. I just need to watch out for potential Hebos on the side. I see Hebo over there. I'm going to try to get behind them and look for huge kills in the back. I'm going to go for Mulan. That's a dead Mulan. I'm going to look for the whoop. And that is a free fire giant. Let's grab this fire really quick. Apollo is still around. He's actually just sitting in the air. I'm just going to burn this fire giant ASAP. He's going to land late on that, which means he is dead. And now we shove right down middle lane. We've got 5 people dead for 30 seconds. We've got the fire giant. We're gonna get pushed in on left right there. We got to be a little bit careful about the left-hand side creeps. Somebody needs to probably back and go defend that. Maybe like our Sobek would be good. Yep. We just need one person to back and defend that. Okay, it's gonna be Thanatos. That's fine. Those creeps might have genuinely been able to end the game. Freya is really good at slaying Titans. You can see the damage output that we have here on that Titan right there. We hold down our 2, we hold down our 1. And we had really the most standard Freya game possible, which is the early game goes kind of trash. You get ganked, you get behind a little bit, you sit under towers, there's not much you can do. Then you start to get into the mid game. You start to get your items online. You've got your life steal, your attack speed starting to get online. You start to rotate into team fights. You start to get kills. The enemy team starts to focus you a little bit. And then you get that 25-minute plus, 30-minute plus Freya where you're totally full build. You press your 2 and your 1 and you start deleting everybody off the face of the planet, whether they're tanks, whether they're squishies, it doesn't matter. You start doing all the damage in the world. And that is really where Freya starts to thrive, guys. And that is your Freya.